Please remember to like, subscribe and comment, as we love to hear back from our viewers. Also, if you enjoy our videos, please consider becoming a patron of our show through Patreon and or GoFundMe. Links are listed below the video in the description. From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Kissell.
Hey guys, another episode of Pop Culture Minefield with Keith
and Gerry.
And we're here to do another episode talking about nerd stuff because we're nerdy nerds. Big old geeky geeks. And we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff this week, which basically, right now, this first time, we're going to be talking about what Keith did over the weekend.
You know, one of the things that makes geeks and nerds pretty happy is pretty much going to and meeting other geeks and nerds at events like conventions. Places like New York or San Diego Comicon or, you know, other events like that. And this past weekend, I had the pleasure of attending the 20th anniversary event known as Planet Comicon in Kansas City. It was an incredible event, lots of media guests, which included William Shatner, Henry Winkler, Tara Strong, James and Oliver Phelps, Michael Rosenbaum, Dean Cain.
Nice.
Yeah. Tom Welling. Bonnie Wright. Oh man. And infinitely more. You know, if you go to their official website, all the guests are still listed.
Well, the big one for me is, of course, the Shat.
Yeah, of course. Henry Shat.
Spock,
William
got
Shatner.
to go.
William Shatner's just excellent. You know, it's hard to not have something pretty big like this and not have William Shatner, Emmy winner, present. I like seeing people like John Wesley Shipp, Wallace Shawn, Rey Mysterio, of course, was there. There are a lot of people there for Rey
You said
Mysterio.
Jim Steranko was there.
Yeah, that's part of the comic guests. They had many comic guests there.
He's one of those people that goes almost beyond that because he's taken on such almost a demigod kind of position with old nerds like us because we've been reading him since we were kids.
Yeah. The thing with Jim Steranko is, first and foremost, he has been someone that has pretty much been exclusive, or at least a good portion of his career was exclusive with Marvel Comics. And he came up with the idea of taking pretty much the Howling Commandos and their leader, Nick Fury, and taking Fury and updating him at that time.
And what he did, we were talking about it earlier, is, you know, he did something that was edgy and different.
Yeah.
He also took Marvel Comics into pop culture.
Yeah.
With the way he did the art. It was very, very creative and artistic what he did with the Nick Fury comics.
He was a genius for what he did. And the great thing about him is that whenever you watch any new episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he'll live tweet the whole thing and basically kind of compare and contrast between his version of it and what you're watching.
Where do you do that? What?
He'll tweet that. He's on Twitter a lot. He is strong.
So he comments on
yeah.
Okay, so I don't go to Twitter. I get so annoyed with it. There's so much pervasive negativity on there. I just you got to wade through it, and I get kind of sick of it. And that's not, you know, it's just not a political thing for me.
Yeah.
It's just people of the left and right can be real public assholes.
Yeah.
And it just gets so annoying. So, but now knowing this, I got to go back on there.
Yeah, if look,
if he's doing commentary for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because we got at least, one more season, right?
Not according to what was revealed at WonderCon.
Whoa, what's going on?
The entire cast showed up, and it's looking now that a lot of people got confused a few months back, thinking that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was going to be off the air, and they were confusing that with Gotham. Okay, what it turns out to be is that
one's DC and the other one's Marvel.
The way it turns out, at least according to what they were talking about at WonderCon, is that this upcoming season is going to be a little different. It has a little bit of a twist to it. It doesn't look like they're stopping the show anytime soon.
Good.
And
I love the show. I'm a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I've heard people go, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just slow paced. The characters aren't very good. I'm like, you know what? It's good.
Yeah.
It's got Coulson in it.
Yeah.
You know, all the other characters come and go.
Yeah.
They got Coulson in there, and I'll watch that dude. I like that dude. I've liked him since he was on that Julia Louis-Dreyfus series.
Mm-hmm.
New, old, whatever her.
Yeah, the New Adventures of Old Christine.
Old Christine. Man, he was so funny in that show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, man, I would love to Clark. Is it Clark?
Greg? Yeah, Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg.
Yeah.
I would love to see him at a con. I really would.
Oh, yeah. When he goes, he's awesome. He and Ming-Na Wen have this incredible chemistry. And it's just two very professional actors who know how to work.
And I've had a thing for her for a while.
How do you not?
I know. For those of you who don't have a thing for her, what's wrong with you? Go back to birth and have yourself done all over again. I know your mother will protest, but push yourself right up in there and then come back out and start all over.
For a woman who obviously is a bit of a nerd herself, given how many TV shows and movies that she's done, I mean, you can't do as much as she has and not be one. Okay?
How about him?
Clark Gregg is still pretty new to this, but I mean, you can't.
Well, he started with Thor, you know. Well, with the short film and then Thor.
Yeah, well, you can't do all of this and not become one.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like it's hard not. Once you see how cool this stuff is, it's hard not to fall in love with it.
And the actors, all the actors in the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and everyone else, they love Clark Gregg. They think he's the best. So it's hard not to love Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, and the rest of the cast.
Yeah, it's sort of like the actor Zachary Levi that plays Shazam.
Oh yeah,
it's like there's just something likable about him. Dale Dye worked with him on the pilot episode of Chuck, and and they had nothing but the nicest things to say about him and Julia. And it's like, what a sweet guy. And I'm like, yeah, it really comes across in his character.
Yeah.
And he's really got that big heart, which, leads to that whole funny thing where, he leapt to the defense of Captain Marvel, who was saying that she didn't need men to defend her, but he still did anyway because he may be a big dope, but he's got a big heart. Big old heart. And he jumped up there and defended Captain Marvel. And it's just because he's sweet. He wasn't being a jackass. He actually was defending her, and I thought that was sweet.
You're about to get a good look at how good he is in Shazam in a couple days.
Yeah, see, I got to see the sneak preview.
Look at you.
Yeah, man, that movie was badass. It was really good. I laughed my butt off. It's so fun to see DC going fun.
Yeah, it's again, it's
without getting stupid.
Yeah,
like you don't do that with Batman. You don't have him say something's bleeding on the ground. Just that's a stupid one-liner for another character.
Thank you, Warner Brother top brass, who were the ones that really wanted to do that.
And of course, we saw last week before we go back into this. That Zack Snyder, of course, showed his opus of Justice League.
Well, he showed. I think he showed. Batman v Superman.
I thought it was Justice League too.
No.
I thought he
talked about it. He talked about it. He was asked a question. He answered the question. He had his own point of view on the whole thing. I have my own point of view on that.
Because I have the hope still that we'll see eventually his director's cut.
I hope. I would love, though, for someone to take the time to put together a personal interview with him and all his notes and put that in the form of a book covering everything that he did as far as his version of Justice League, along with his original 3 outlines for all 3 Justice League movies. That whole Nightmare Batman sequence and what it entailed and how that was...
Yeah, we're never going to get to find out now.
Yeah.
Well, there's... Never say never. I've learned that, but,
yeah,
but it's highly unlikely.
None of that stuff was actually filmed beyond what they made for Batman v Superman. So that particular version of Justice League, we're never going to get. But again, for those of you that have paid attention to what he had to say, and for those descriptions of what those 3 movies were, basically DC was going to beat Marvel to the punch with their version of Infinity War and Endgame. And they were going to do it in 3 movies instead of 2.
And we didn't get it.
Thank you, Kevin Sujihara.
And he's would have just quit, right? Sorry.
You could say he quit.
Got booted.
That's the word, booted.
He was kicked to the curb.
Like Les Moonves.
See you, Les. No more. So... But coming back to it, you got this collector's book from Steranko himself, right?
Yeah, this is something that Jim Steranko wrote, and I think way back in the early 70s, where he decided to basically create something that gave his own view of the history of comic books. Now, here's something that you need to understand. This is something written by someone who was, and still is, in my opinion, a part of the comic industry. He knew all the people that created a lot of the characters and stuff that are now celebrated within the industry. He knew these people on a personal basis and decided to write what he knew and create his own history of comics. Now, this is volume 2, or this is book 2 for his own personal history. But it basically is just a detailed, history of comics by Steranko, covering everything, at least in this part of it, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and various other characters from both, I think, Marvel and DC. And it is an invaluable guide. Now, I brought it out of its place of honor just to be able to show you guys. But this is something that you should, if you can, find it on eBay, find whatever version you have, get to whatever convention you can where Jim Steranko is and have him sign it. You will thank me, because this is history. This is someone who knew these people. Now, that isn't to say that other books that other people will write about the history of comics and its creators, that's nothing against what they're doing. But the difference with Jim Steranko is Steranko knew these people. So he's getting the knowledge directly from them and then writing about it, versus someone who is writing about something secondhand, thirdhand, pretty much just interviewing who's left. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
There aren't that many left.
And this guy's been around since the 60s.
Yeah.
So, he's been connected to some of the he probably knew some of the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Guys,
there's
not
interviews.
just the Silver Age.
There's interviews. Look, you're about to have, the world is about to see what Shazam is like, what the original Captain Marvel is like. And this is...
Which is funny because there's a bit of artwork on there, and I don't want to give a spoiler on the back. And I don't want to give anything away, but that's pretty cool. Yeah. To have that on there. Very tied into the movie.
Everything is just fantastic. Yeah, now this is Blackhawk. Remember this name, kids, because this was originally associated with Steven Spielberg from a story that was released a few months back. every time I hear about this, Spielberg's name is somewhere in the mix.
Yeah, when I first heard about Sky Captain, I thought that's what they were actually doing, was adapting that, and because it's very similar thematically.
Yes.
And but I always thought it would be cool if we had gotten that as a film, even if it was animated.
Well, I have hope that we're eventually going to see that. Now, the other personality that was there is Mr. Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin is just an incredible guy. And if you are one of the few people out there asking yourself, well, who's Jim Starlin? Jim Starlin is the guy that happened to create this character that you now know as Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. So, among other things, Jim Starlin is someone who has created a lot of stuff. And I had the honor of being able to meet him and to purchase one of his books, which he was nice enough to sign. Trust me, it's worth it to meet Jim Starlin and to purchase the Art of Jim Starlin book, and this is his black book from Ominous Press.
I want to point this out too. Where's that? There it is, Airboy.
Oh yeah.
And because we're right now, Chuck Dixon, friend of ours, that we're promoting all of his and Graham Nolan stuff. Mm-hmm. They're starting up. Him and Drew Ford are doing a new Airboy.
Wow.
So,
well, there's lots of personalities, characters on this book that, you know, if you consider yourself a geek of any measure and you're over the age of 30, you should be able to identify just about every character on this.
I'm at 95. There's a couple on there I know, but I don't remember their names. But almost everything here I know. This is so cool. Oh, and there's Ace and Gerry on there. It's not on there. I was lying.
Now,
so what else we got in the old bag? You want to show the bag?
Oh, yes. They, Planet Comicon was celebrating its 20th anniversary.
Love you guys. Planet Comicon.
Here's the bag that they came up with their logo.
Nice.
And
I especially like this artwork.
20th anniversary logo on the other side.
Look at that. I remember it was just him running the show.
Yeah.
And now look at him. It's one of the, not just one of the biggest shows in Missouri, it's getting to be one of the biggest shows in the country.
Yes. Now, I want to give a special shout out to Janet Harvey and Megan Levins, who I got a chance to meet and purchased a copy of their book, Angel City, Town Without Pity. Okay? Check this out, guys.
Nice artwork.
It is nice artwork.
I like that. You can't see it here, but they did spot varnish on there so the logo really pops. I like that.
You need to find this. Buy this book. In fact, Uni Press is the publisher of this book. Check it out. Now, I've only gotten through the first 3 chapters, but it is a really good mystery story, and you will be glad you did. It's all about new talent and amazing talent, and that's one of the great things about Planet Comicon is they are not shy about comic book talent. There's all kinds of comic book talent all over Planet Comicon. Every place you go, you're going to bump into some new talent. Take a chance, buy a book, support someone new and upcoming. It's great to support Marvel and DC and a lot of the other known quantities and companies. But always take a chance. You know, you might end up discovering something or someone new that has created something that really, you know, you could get into. Of course, the Hero Initiative, which you should really be investing some time into. This is meant to support basically people in the business, comic book creators, artists, writers, others, basically when they need help. The Hero Initiative is something that I have seen a lot of their booths at various comic functions.
Help in what way? Like in medical or
whatever. Always possible. But the important thing is supporting them when they need it.
Hero Initiative. It's funny because like a few years back in 2012, Dave Dorman and I, we tried to find a way to help get freelance artists because so many of our friends have medical problems. Dave himself and myself are both diabetic. And we went so far as to even talk to the Moose Lodge about creating a program just for professional artists and writers in the comic industry. But we didn't get as far as we wanted to before things, took us off the project. One day we'll circle back around, or somebody will eventually solve the problem of these. So many artists are uninsured, freelancers. It's only a small percentage of professional industry artists and writers that are financially doing well. Close to 90% of all industry pros struggle. It's only, I think it's about 11% are made in the shade. Yeah. Whereas 89% are struggling. Yeah. And it's just, that's the way it is. This is a really cool comic book.
Yeah, it's from Crash Comics. It is a really, really interesting premise.
Anybody who likes Bubba Hotep with Elvis and Bruce Campbell is going to love this comic book.
It's from Ed Lavallee and artist Marcello. I want to make sure not to butcher his name too much.
People like their names being butchered.
And Matt Cashel, who's the co-writer. Hopefully I didn't butcher your guys' names too much, but basically it's called Pop Star Assassin.
Yeah, get that up there close. Look at that, guys. Look at that artwork. That's super badass.
Vegas, 1977. Turns out Elvis is a total assassination badass. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's like somebody took Elvis and Bubba Hotep and kind of mixed it a little bit with John Wick.
And of course, he's automatically got a built-in soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This was being offered at Planet Comicon to sign. I mean, I'm telling you, original talent, original stories. Check this out. And of course, since I got a chance to meet him, thank you very much. You got a mask.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Elvis has not left the building.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And of course,
I'll get these off your lap.
Thank you.
I wonder how much this eagle can hold. We shall find out.
Now, this was probably one of my biggest surprises. I love finding really cool stuff that takes a particular idea and turns it on its head a little bit. And there was a man there who had come up with an idea for a character that really, when you think about it, is kind of neat. He was introducing his kids to Johnny Quest and decided, what if you took that whole thing and just turned it on its head a little bit? Instead of it being a girl, instead of it being a boy, it being a girl. So he created Chase Van Bolt.
Once again, what's important here, he didn't gender flip Johnny Quest. He created his own character. And it's brilliant. This is awesome. This is something I would have bought for Zoe.
Yeah, that I told him that. It's like, my daughter's 21. If I had had this back in the day, it would have been easier, giving her something to read. It's done in the style of the Johnny Quest comics and shows. In fact, issues are structured like episodes, like at the back of the video.
They should even release a CD with soundtrack.
Oh, that's what I told him. Because I listened to a lot.
That'd be so cool. Have its own theme song.
So this is season 1, Season 1, Episode 9. Season 1, Episode 2, Tale of the Scorpion. Original air date, 9/9/1965. I love the way he
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's just really radically cool. It's Darren Neely and Robert Ahmed, and Darren Neely with Adam Lackey. They have done an amazing job on these. Chase Van Bolt. I mean, I really, really wish. It was just great meeting Darren Neely, and he was a really, really nice guy. Now, you can find Chase Van Bolt on Facebook, okay? And tell him that we sent you. If he still has any copies left, this was part of a $10 pack where you got these 2 books and also these.
Production art sketches. I love that. Done just like a TV show.
Done just the way they did the Johnny Quest.
Hanna-Barbera. That's right.
Just like they did a Johnny Quest. Amazing. Amazing stuff.
Na 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 na. I'm sorry, I got the theme in my head.
Hey, there's a lot of Johnny Quest related stuff online. If you get a chance, check out that Johnny Quest documentary. If you figure that you are a Johnny Quest fan, you're going to want to see this documentary and the information inside of it. And also, there's at least 2 or 3, there's at least 1 whole Johnny Quest soundtrack. I think 2. But one's nothing but the cues that they used, that they recorded for the show. And trust me, if you're a Johnny Quest fan...
The cues are often also referred to as incidental music. It's just music that fits here, segues and stuff like that. Or if somebody's transitioning from one spot to another spot, they'll play this segue music, and they call it incidental or, cue, you know.
Yeah. And again, just check it all out. Support this.
Support comics, because we have seen just the worst 2 years for comic books.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get into this in another episode, but a real deep discussion about what I think is going on with the industry, and that Disney, I think, is absolutely doesn't give it a damn if mom and pop shops close.
Yeah.
Because they have Disney shops, and they would love to own the industry, the comic industry. They would love to own the comic industry and have comic shops all over the United States.
Yeah.
And that would be the only place where you can get Marvel comics.
Yeah.
And I fear that that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And DC isn't helping.
No.
DC's not helping. They're making it just awful. They're hiring the people that were about to be fired or being fired from Marvel, and the quality of comics has not gone up, and people aren't buying. And who suffers for that?
The fans.
Everybody wants to think the fans immediately. We all go the fans. It's the mom and pop shops. Like our friend that owns Comic Cave. They can't pay their bills when they can't sell the comics. They're putting out comics that nobody wants. And we got to see a change in the industry. But we need to talk about that another day and put a lot of thought in it. I'd actually like to get him in here and talk about it.
And you know what? We ought to at least also that day also continue to bring up the Hero Initiative. This is phenomenal.
In fact, we should put that on our screen. At the end of the thing, we'll put a link and a little logo for it with each episode, because I love that. That's a really good concept. So, what else you got? Is that it? Is that it?
Oh, actually, one last thing. Very important. Very important. We got to get to our good friend, Rick Stasi.
Rick and I met at, Smallville Comic-Con in Kansas. And we became instant buddies. And we're part of a secret Fight Club organization that we're not allowed to talk about. Because you can't talk about Fight Club, even though I keep bringing it up. But Rick and I are very good friends. I like him a lot, man. Fuck it, I love the guy. Sorry for the bad language. And I just really, really like Rick Stassi. He's such a positive and proactive person. And he's an old comic pro. And he does all these different things, man.
This is poetry.
He is a poet. I've read his poetry. He's a beautiful soul right there, Rick Stassi.
Ask your favorite booksellers. Get this book. Request this book. It's not like he's desperate for the money, but I'm thinking he'd at least like you to, try something different.
Well, I think he would like to see if he can earn money in other ways than what he's traditionally done in the past. But he is a very good comic artist too, very good illustrator.
And I think we've exhausted it. I think we've
any Close Encounters stories. Shatner.
Let me tell you, there is something about meeting a lot of these classic comic book people. I got a chance to meet Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who was the artist that did a lot of DC art. A lot of the stuff that we grew up with, whenever you would see packaging or stuff on cereal boxes or even tags related to clothes, he did all of that DC related art. He's a phenomenal artist. If you see him at an upcoming convention, go over, say hello. If you can, just go ahead and throw, some money and grab a couple pieces, because he is really, really good. His version of the Justice League is one of the ones that I find personally to be one of my favorite views of the Justice League. And I just like the way he draws.
Yeah. You can show some more of the artwork.
All I want to do is just tell people, you got to find this book. Go to your favorite...
Who sells that? Where do you get it? Can you get it on his official website?
You should be able to go to his website, or...
Because if you order through him, I'm assuming he'll sign it for you.
Probably. Just make sure you find this and give it a good read. And for those of you who are about to discover Shazam, you should definitely have this book.
That was always my favorite costume right there.
Yeah.
That was the best costume.
You need to read how Shazam came about and the whole history of the character, which is in...
Does he talk about Fred McMurray?
I think that's brought up among other things. Just all the whole thing with...
Because when I was a kid, even without knowing the history, I always noticed that there was a resemblance between Fred McMurray and Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
That's Captain Marvel, not Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel.
Yeah. And Captain Marvel Jr. and how Elvis Presley borrowed a lot of...
And what was the girl's name?
Mary.
Mary Marvel.
Yep.
That's right.
There's a whole thing. This whole era and period of Elvis Presley...
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
...ties into Captain Marvel, or at least Captain Marvel Jr., because he took his style the way that Captain Marvel Jr. has his cape and everything else. That's what Elvis used as the basis for his 70s costumes and stuff. All of that, including the way he wore his, sideburns.
See, that's awesome. Now, just so you guys know, it's a warning in advance. Keith and I do a lot of conventions. We love them. That's how we became friends. Ooh, look at that, the Spirit.
If you don't know who the Spirit is, you're missing out.
Kitchen Sink Press. Actually, a lot of the old issues are published now by IDW, I think.
Yep.
But I do want to point out that before we end this episode, we will be at Visioncon in May. And you can come visit us at the table. We will broadcast from the con. We're going to be working with their PR people to make sure that we're able to broadcast from the show live. And what do you think of the new digs?
Let us know.
This is the new digs. The pillars are still here, but they're off camera because they just don't fit. I built them just for the show, and they don't fit. So now they're just part of the studio. Anyway, we're going to be broadcasting from here for a while. There is a good chance that We have an investor interested in the show that may get us a proper studio. But to be honest with you, I kind of like the intimacy of this show, the way we do it. And from coffee tables or from my studio, it feels like there's love on the wall because this is real stuff. This isn't there as for props. These are things that I actually love. And even though I don't like that movie, I love that poster. I love that poster. It's a very well designed poster. Much better than that crap that got leaked last week.
Oh, yes.
I'm a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Anyway, with that, I guess we'll bugger off. This is Pop Culture Minefield with Keith.
And Gary.
And I guess we're out of here. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Strinko.
Yay!
Strinko.
Y'all come back now. You hear?
Hi comics and monster fans, welcome to the Return to Monster Island Kickstarter campaign. I'm Nolan. You probably know my work from my years of working at Marvel and DC Comics. I'm the designer and co-creator of the Batman villain Bane. I've recently partnered with my friends at Ominous Press to bring you the 20th anniversary edition of Monster Island. And thanks to all of the backers that supported the project, it was a great success, and we can finally bring to you the long-awaited sequel, Return to Monster Island. It's been 20 years in the making, and I think everybody's been patient long enough. Return to Monster Island is the long-awaited sequel to my original story, Monster Island. It's been 20 years in the making. I've always wanted to do the sequel and the subsequent sequels. This was originally an idea that had 4 story parts, and this obviously is the first one. 2 years have passed since the original adventure, and our heroes, Mac and Duke, are called back to action. When the Monster Island shows up on the Navy radar screens above the Bering Sea, it's a race against time to get there before the Russians. A group of aliens has taken over the island, and our heroes have to set things right before the island disappears once more. New characters, new monsters, and new dangers await you on the Return to Monster Island. Some of the great rewards for this campaign include Return to Monster Island in full color, a colorized version of the original Monster Island, commission art done by me, and lots of other great stuff. Thank you for joining us for Return to Monster Island. I hope you'll consider pledging your support to this campaign. I know with your help it'll be a huge success.